Yo, what's the Vibronics VibeSync fam? Welcome to VibeSync sessions where we sync in culture, tech, and tomorrow's biggest ideas. I'm Vibronica, your guide to all things bold and visionary, and I'm hyped to kick off today's episode. This is our first episode, bro. Are you ready for this? Are you ready?
Of course I'm ready. This is going to be action-packed, supercharged. Let's do this, twin. I'm Vibro, the other half of this twin-powered vibe, ready to dive into the genius of our guest. Today, we've got the one and only Kushim Sun Rey in the house, a 33-year-old creative, innovative technologist, pan-African trailblazer, and all-around game changer who's reshaping the future with Afrofuturism and tech.
Hold up, Vibro, you're already stealing my thunder. But for real, Kushim's story is wild. From leading the USA's first Kabaddi team at the 2016 World Cup to dropping award-winning blockchain projects. I'm ready to unpack this.
Yo, you always trying to take the lead, sis. But yeah, Kushim's got this incredible mix of culture and tech, NFTs, virtual spaces, and a vision for Africa's future. I'm low-key geeking out.
High-key geeking out, you mean? Alright, let's sync up and get to it. Kushim, welcome to VibeSync Sessions. We're so stoked to have you here, man.
I'm also stoked. I'm just ecstatic to be here. I've heard great things about the show. I follow you guys all the time. Vibro, Vibronica, y'all doing y'all thing. Keep it up. And I know y'all from the motherland in Jamaica, so big up yourself and let's get into it.
Let's start with the name, Kushim Sun Rey. It's got this powerful ancient meets futuristic ring to it. What inspired you to take on this persona, and how does it fuel your mission to blend African heritage with cutting-edge tech?
Well, the name came to me in a series of visions back in 2011. I was up in New York City. I was in college playing college football, American football, and I gotten hurt. And through that, but I was also reading a lot of books. I had this one professor, shout out to Donna Dwyer. She really started to open my mind, right? And she would give me books to read. It was a research studies class. And, I was also gaining conscious. I was just getting into it myself, really kind of, setting my ground and my foundation. Because at this point, I'm like 18, 19 years old, so I'm really trying to figure out who I am, right? And then in the series of visions, I just heard this name, just ring out, Kushim, right? And then slowly start having visions of, ancestor of mine, really it was me, and he was just kind of sizing me up, and it's like, is this what I'm going to turn out to be in, in the future, So from there, we just started building this relationship. It was actually supposed to be a character in my book, that I'm actually currently still writing, but then over time, in 2014, I actually realized that it was me, right? So that's why I officially kind of came with the name change, and it was interesting. I got mixed feedback from my friends and family. People who know me. Kushim actually means the totality of Kush, right? Ancient Kush, right? Not speaking about we. But we talk about the Nubian prehistoric Ethiopians, right? That founded much of what we now know today as civilization. The name Kushim is used in Israel as an equivalent to how in the United States people use the term nigger. It's a derogatory statement, right? And Kushi is the singular form and Kushim is the plural form. So, it's just like how we take words, how words that were taken from us to now demean us, we can then flip that into what its original meaning is, which is the empowerment, upliftment of melanated beings all around the world.
Yo, that's deep, repping a whole legacy like that.
Yes!
Follow up, how do you weave that ancestral vibe into your tech projects, like, say, your African cultural database?
Man, that's a great question. It's interesting that you mentioned the database, because that is probably one of my keynote projects, right? Lifelong projects, is being able to, preserve, document, organize, maximize, optimize, and innovate, African genius, from as far back as we can reach and push it as far into the future as we can go, right? Stories from, songs, dances, ritual practices, art, food, pottery. Africa has existed with the oral tradition for as long as we can remember or hear or speak, right? So being able to preserve that digitally is paramount for our people as we continue to move forward into the technological age, when it comes to integrating technology, integrating various, things like AI, blockchain, augmented reality, virtual reality, 3D modeling. The list just goes on, right? So being as Africans, of us being able to, you know, own our stories, right? And then for anyone who else wants to come in and participate in that stories or utilize their stories to build their own mythologies or video games or movies or comic books or animation series or what have you, mythology, folklore, whatever, that needs to be documented with us, right? And we need to, the creators and the originators of those, of culture, right, need to be able to be recognized and value attributed to their work and their stories. I'd say, look at the story. I always use Black Panther as an example, right? Because did Marvel go to any of those African tribes who they utilize the entire Black Panther story? Did Stan Smith go to any of these tribes? If he did, bravo to him. But did they get paid? Did they get compensated? Was their intellectual property licensed out? Right? Was there an agreement? Was there a contract? Right? And how much money did Marvel make from the Black Panther? Exactly. You can go look up the numbers yourself. So, that's just a real world, real time, practical example of what the database can do, right? And I could go deeper into it, upon further requests. But yes, it's all about preserving that culture, because the culture of the Kushites, the culture of the prehistoric Aqualithic African, right, who has circumnavigated the continent and the world and has come out of Africa to populate and educate and inspire the world, wave upon wave, that needs to be documented. And the more we can acknowledge that, the more that we can define that, the more that we can come together as a people and know ourselves.
Oh, wow. That's really interesting.
Man, that's fire. Culture and tech in perfect sync. My turn. You were the governor of Island 17, a DAO on the Harmony blockchain back in 2022. What was it like leading a decentralized community? And how did it shape your view on empowering people through tech?
Well, it did a number on me, right? First of all, shout out to Heidi and everybody at Island 17. Working with them has been a blast. Becoming a governor for their program and dealing with kids and programming and learning and spirituality and mindfulness, and it's a blur, right? So I was approached by them at the Ethereum Denver conference in 2022. I'm pretty sure we'll get into that a little bit later, but it was really just based off of like understanding inclusion, cultural tolerance, education, right, of young people around the world, right? And that's what it's really all about. So what it really helped me with, for the diaspora and these current projects is the whole DAO, decentralized autonomous organization infrastructure, right? And understanding like how those smart contracts work. How does the governance work? We were working with Harmony DAO at the time. So just even submitting the contract, even submitting the proposal for that, it was so intricate and very, very well organized. And again, shout out to Heidi. She had everything already kind of mapped out. So I just kind of did my part in the organization I even made the audio, the beats for the NFTs that were being released and sold and minted for the project. So yeah, it was pretty cool. But the decentralized autonomous organization part of it is actually what I want to bring to the database. Is what I'm bringing to the African cultural database, and that is the aspect of it where every contributor, right? Whether you're a creator, whether you're a historian, whether you're a preserver of history, or whether you want to utilize, right, the content that is being, added to the database, right? Everybody has their vote. Everybody is honored. Everybody is respected, and they're able. The governance reflects that. So yeah, I love being able to be a part of situations that help me propel, right, and help provide the basis for going further, right, in new situations. So yeah, shout out to Harmony Dow, shout out to Island 17.
Okay, I love how you're building community in these digital spaces.
My mind is blown.
Ah, yes. Follow up. Did that experience influence how you approach projects like advising the Baholoko Kingdom, where you're tackling education and healthcare tech?
Well, of course, right? Because these same models, that I'm developing with the database honestly will be deployed, right? Even pilot seasons will be deployed with the Bakolokoi Kingdom down in South Africa, right? I've been to Harris Smith. I've been to Horizons Academy down in Harris Smith, where I had the opportunity to be a part of a team that went and met. It's called the Be Kind, Be Fair. It's with Meredith Beale and Dr. Jonathan Clark and a whole other team of assorted members across the diaspora, expert members. And it's, utilizing, we're teaching kindergarten kids how to become self-published authors and create an animated series, animation series. And I'm also doing the music for it and utilizing AI into that, right? So that's good, like a crazy project. By the time they finish, they'll be self-published authors, getting royalties that go back to their school. When we went there, it was pandemonium. The energy. Then there was electric. We went and spoke with the elementary school kids. There were like 700 kids, and they mobbed me. It felt like I was playing in the World Cup. The type of energy, the hunger these kids had, and being ready and willing to learn, right, and being able to, when presented the opportunity, you can see it in their eyes. They're ready to excel, right? So, that's just the, our initial project that we're doing. But there's a lot of things with the Bakolokoi Kingdom that I'm very excited to be working with, being the advisor to the kingdom on technology. I can, I got some plans. I got some things cooked up. I can't go into everything right now, but like, imagine being able to build Wakanda from the ground up, right? And you have, being provided with the tools that you needed to help that. Like, what would you do if you could build it from scratch, right? So I'm very excited about that. Thank you for asking.
Mm-hmm. That's so dope. Real impact. All right, Vibro, you go, but don't hop the mic.
Chill, sis, I got this. Sheesh, man. Kushim, your ETH Denver 2022 project for athletes was a game changer, earning you major props. What sparked that idea, and how do you see tech leveling the playing field for folks who've been overlooked?
Well, yeah, the Arenaverse was a amazing experience. It was a Buildle hackathon for the Ethereum Denver conference back in 2022, obviously in Denver. And, I got there. I actually got there a day or two late, right? And my team, or the team there was building away, and I just had to jump in and hop in seamlessly and kind of direct the vision when it came to, sports and athletes and the utility that it actually provided, right, for athletes and for the fans, right? It was pretty much a virtual platform where people could come on and meet virtually, create avatars, and go into virtual environments where they can, have watch parties, where they can do community boards, where they can, just integrate in various things in the online and with crypto and with blockchain, just integrating a few things. So it was pretty innovative at the time. And I've actually seen a few other projects that have sprung up around the world that are also utilizing Web3 and crypto and blockchain with sports, right? And now it's even being integrated with AI. So I wouldn't necessarily say athletes are like underdeserved, underprivileged, people. And people definitely know about athletes and their journey, right? Whether it be professionally or otherwise. But as far as just the representation, right? I think it provides so much, creating experiences like this, right? Whether it be in sports, whether it be in education, whether it be healthcare, whether it be legal, whatever arena that it exists in, it provides an extra layer of utility and community building, right? That is really going to be imperative, right, as we continue to move forward in a technologically focused, socially conscious, world, global society and world, right? So things that help make life easier, right? Things that take the mundane task away from people and allow us to use our mental, acute acumen to really get things done and solve the problems that need to be fixed, right? That need to be solved, right? And provide solutions. So that's what all of these things are for. But, I've been an athlete all my life. Again, I played American football growing up, and it's great to, do that arenaverse for Kabaddi and for athletes around the world, and will be cycled back through. You will see that again, right? Whether and it's probably going to be with Kabaddi, right? So, that's what it's about.
Love that. Using tech to lift others up.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes. Follow up. Are there other groups, maybe in Africa or the diaspora, you're eyeing for similar tech solutions?
I mean, well, of course, that's part of the reason I came over here to the continent, was to be able to interface and integrate and collaborate with, the bright minds and, the forward-thinking, revolutionary, Africa-centered thinkers, corporations, brands, communities, governments, even if they're on their game. That's what I'm here for. So I've been in Kenya the longest, right? But South Africa, Rwanda, Ethiopia, Ghana, Gambia, these are all Nigeria. These are all countries on my list. Burkina Faso, right? I want to be able to work with every country, on the continent, to unify the continent through tech solutions, because tech solutions have everybody's attention and there's so much progress, there's so much value that could be added through tech. So, that was kind of the glue, right? And then, of course, culture being an added overlayer. Of course, this Pan-African mentality and idealism and understanding, internalization of current affairs, the states of being for African people around the world is paramount. So, from legal to political to socioeconomic to commerce to you name it, man. Entertainment, film, music, right? All of these solutions, everybody can get served, right? And it's really just about how can we communicate ideas effectively? How can we come to the table and, really be able solutions oriented, right? Because we all have very similar problems where no matter where you are on the continent or the diaspora, we have the answers to each other's problems. We just have to be able to sit down at the table. And I really think tech is one of those pillars that can ensure, that we can update fast and, soundly, agile, flexible, and it could be scaled infinitely. So definitely, bro. I definitely got a whole checklist.
What the helly? Are you hearing this, Vibronica?
No, are you hearing this, Vibro?
Give this man his flowers.
My gosh. Whew. You led the USA national Kabaddi team as the first captain in the 2016 Kabaddi World Cup in Ahmedabad, India. That's huge. How did that high-energy experience shape your leadership style, especially in your creative and tech projects?
Kabaddi. Kabaddi is just a whole wormhole to me, right? In 2016, I had no idea. In August of 2016, I had no idea about this sport. I had no idea that it existed, and I called myself a connoisseur of sports. So shout out to Celestine Jones, childhood friend of mine at the time. And I remember seeing a Facebook post, right? And it says, who wants to go to India, all expenses paid to go play a sport. Right? I was like, okay, right? And then I was like, okay, I'm not gonna let too much time go by. Let me call her. So I call her, and from there, it's just been a roller coaster, such an epic journey. That was a once in a lifetime opportunity that I had a chance to participate in, and I don't ever think I'll experience anything like it. Right? Picking up a new sport from scratch, not knowing anything about it, and having a month to go prepare, and then going to step on the biggest stage in the world for that sport, which is the World Cup, playing teams who have been playing the sport for decades, for India thousands of years, and having a chance to actually become the captain of the team, represent my country. It was a surreal experience, exchanging with other countries, 12 other countries that were, 11 other countries that participated, from, Australia all the way to Argentina, right? I was able to make lifelong friends, lifelong connections, even the Kenyan national team. That's even why I'm in Kenya. Part of the reason why I'm even in Kenya at this point, right? The relationship that we built with them, just meeting them for the first time was like a movie, right? We were both, we were at a mall, right? And we kind of seen each other through the atrium of the mall, and everybody was kind of sizing each other up, like, what's going on, And then, but it was all of everybody. We sized each other up, and everybody just, brother, and everybody started dapping up and hugging. Man, it would have brought, it almost brought a tear to my eye. It was a beautiful experience, right? So. But just the love that was shown, India, I always have a special place for India in my heart, just by the sheer pure love that they shown for me being able to represent my country, and my teammates for, taking up the challenge of being able to come over here and do what we did. So although we didn't win a game, I don't fault anyone for that, because if you just learn how to play basketball for the very first time, and then you had to go out and play against Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors, you wouldn't fare too well either, But now I'm glad that I had that chance, and after that, me and my co-founders, we established the National Kabaddi Federation, which is the governing body for the sport of Kabaddi in the United States, and now, I had a chance to link up with the Kenya Kabaddi Federation, and I was honored at the Africa Kabaddi Championships 2024 and last year. That was a great experience. I saw 10 African countries, with Kabaddi being represented. Yeah, it was great. So just to be able to have the opportunity to now spread it further around the continent with the networks that I have, and around the world, honestly, I'm looking to bring it to the Caribbean, because a lot of Caribbean islands don't have Kabaddi teams. So, yeah, man, it was a real experience. Leadership wise, it was very interesting. Because I had to check myself, right, and make sure I was grounded in an experience and a position I'd never been in before. I've been captain of teams and leaders of teams, sports teams, but never in a context of I've never played the sport. We're going halfway around the world to go represent our country, to go do it, right? So just being able to, having to be on point and having to be on guard, having to manage, people, manage emotional complexes, and manage psychological complexes, manage social, cultural, nuances between the Indian people and my team and everybody's attitudes and all that stuff. It's definitely helped. I'd definitely say I wouldn't be the leader or the person or the visionary I am today without that experience. So, God bless Kabaddi.
I never knew that.
You need to see some Kabaddi clips now.
Yes.
You're also pushing for an African Intercontinental Kabaddi Federation. How does sport tie into your bigger vision for cultural exchange?
Well, Kabaddi is very unique in a plethora of ways, because it's holistic by nature, right? So I don't have to worry about the culture of the sport being lost or distorted, right, by the participants of it or the fans of it, right? So imagine if LeBron James and Kobe Bryant and Steph Curry and Michael Jordan were And most of these guys actually were. That's the crazy part about this. But they were meditating, doing breath exercises, stretching, doing yoga, what I mean, doing all of these holistic healing practices, holistic maintenance and empowerment practices. But they were highlighting it as though it was the reason why they were so good, right? That's what the dynamic you get in Kabaddi, right? To where just think of the dynamic of the fans, right? When you think of football, basketball, you think all these unhealthy concessions. You think of unhealthy beverages, liquor, alcohol, soda, beer, candy, all the stuff, right? So imagine, if it's a holistic sport with a holistic fan base and community and player base, right? Now you're dealing with, a more cleaner, smarter, greener sport, right? So sports has always been used as a societal mechanism, right, of expression, right? It was used in as a go-between for war, right? Instead of fighting you and killing you, I can just show you I'm better than you, that if we did fight, you would not win. And so I can assert my dominance, right? But culture follows sports, right? Sports has always been an entry point or access point for culture to express itself, right? No matter who's playing it, everybody wants to put in their own sense of style, their own sense of, customization, right, with sports. So I really think that it does wonders in the terms of expression, but it also trains, right, trains the players and the population, right, who plays it. And I think this is really concerning, the young people and the surplus of young people that's especially here within the African diaspora on the continent. 60 to 70% of the continent is under 30 years old, right? But the unemployment rate is so high, right? So you have a lot of these youth, right? People who just have nothing to do, and idle minds never really work out, right? So getting people, especially the youth, physical, getting them active, getting them sharpening, right? Because I even call Kabaddi like a human chess, type of vibe. Like you have to think steps ahead, right? So you have to plan it, pre-plan it, execute is perfect, right? Although it's a relatively physical sport, right? It's only the physicality of it is only a byproduct of the chess match that's being played mentally, right? So if we could get our young people thinking on that line, right, I think they'll be more ready and primed to take in and to digest and internalize, some of these, higher level concepts, ideologies that have to do with change and revolution and self-empowerment and self-improvement.
That's what I'm talking about. Culture on and off the field. All right, sis. Hit him with the next one.
Okay, Twin, I got you. You're speaking at the Festac Africa Festival 2025 in Accra, Ghana in September, and you've got an article coming out on Africa's economic and technological future. What's the one big idea you want to drop that will have people buzzing about Africa's role in global tech?
I think there's a couple of different points. And I won't be redundant because I've already talked about the database, but it's very important. It's actually imperative, right? But after that, I would say the creative economy that can be built from said database, using the Be Kind, Be Fair project down in South Africa as an example, right? But other than that, I'm really interested to see how AI, how Africa really interfaces with AI, right? And how they make AI their own, right? I think that there's going to be some significant gap closing, right, between Africa and the rest of the world when it comes to this technology, when it comes to AI. And I think it starts with power processing, and then data centers, right? And then these African-centric, African-based, African-owned, language models, AI models, right, that can be then agentized and then be automated, right? Then we'll start seeing that go kind of permeate through our various industries, starting with the most uh, pressing first. I would say healthcare, legal, commerce, and then there's the whole entertainment economy that's going to kind of mirror that. I think that travel and tourism will take an exponential will have an exponential adjustment, right? Because it is the backbone of a lot of the African economies and diasporic economies, but it's being exploited still at the same time. So I think we're gonna kind of see these overhauls and change of like African centered technology solutions, right? That I think will grow as Africa grows and as the population and as these young people start to interface with it more often and get more familiar with it. We're going to hit a critical mass, and then it's going to be exponential, on the bell curve, in the right direction. So there's a collection of ideas, but I think just that whole kind of pathway to that. And I think, honestly, it really starts with African countries taking control of their natural resources and being able to redistribute value and power through that. So there's a couple different things. I could just give you one, but I'm sorry. But
Yo, that's a vision I can get behind.
No, that's a vision I can see.
You know what? You're right.
I know, Vibro, I know.
Follow up. How does your upcoming article tie into that? And what's one thing you hope readers take away?
Shout out to Medium. My article, Afrofuturism's High Voltage Future, is out. I published it on April 17th. And that particular article highlights just the current events in innovation, what's going on around the diaspora, mainly Africa, right? It goes into Egypt's satellite and starship hub, AI. It goes, ethical AI. It goes into fintechs, ethical edge. Like, how does tech stay ethical? It goes in the big picture. It goes through a multitude of things, man. I encourage everybody to go check that out. I'll even include the link into the description of this episode. But going into the future, the next episode, man, I'm actually really excited for this next part of my journey, man. Actually teaming up with two of my really, really good friends and brothers, Horus the Solar and Shri Neptune Love Wisdom. We've all made a pact to find out our genealogy, right? Do our ancestry test and find our haplogroups. And they're using 23andMe. I'm over here on the continent right now, so I may have to use something a little different. But we're all going to get our results. And then we're going to do what we call a reverse migration. Man, I really wish Horace was here to go through it, but I'll do the best I can. But we're going to do a reverse migration, visiting all of reverse migrating the diaspora, because I'm American. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, and all my guys, we're also from Miami and Maryland, respectively. So we want to reverse the Middle Passage and go back to the places where, our ancestors were taken from, and even see how they migrated and how they traveled around, right? How that DNA, how that bloodline, how those haplogroups have traveled around the continent and also the world. So, based off our lineage, what we're X amount of percent of this country, X amount of percent of that country, we'll be able to go to all of these countries and do something meaningful with the communities there, right? And then we're setting up a whole YouTube channel for that, dedicated channel for that. And then I'll be, of course, writing articles, about that as well. So that's going to be very, very impactful, because I would love to be able to be an example for other people who may be curious, other people who may not know at all, other people who, do know but may not be as may not show up as a prominent part of their life and their lifestyle and their world view and perspective. right? So I would love to be that catalyzing agent, right? Because I think I know for a fact that it will unlock, DNA activation is my whole mission and goal in life, right? So as far as where I'm concerned, I'm right on point, and physically being able to visit the places where my ancestors were, being able to tap back into those frequencies and that energy, although it may not be the same as when my ancestors left it, but it's there nonetheless. So I know that there's a large community of people within the diaspora who are curious just like me. So to be able to set that example and show like, hey, I'm here, I'm a part of this community, I'm coming back to this community, I'm doing something impactful, and I'm highlighting and showcasing and building up this database and doing and just connecting the dots, man, because I feel like there's been a lot of misinformation purposely disseminated between, the diaspora about who we are and where we come from, and the value that we add to the world as a whole. So to be able to shine a positive light and perspective on that, man, I'm very, very, very excited for that. Right. We're starting at the Festech Festival in Accra, Ghana, starting September 21st through the 27th. Then we'll be making our journey over to East Africa, and then we'll be concluding our tour down in South Africa, which will be a three-city tour: Johannesburg, Durban, and Cape Town for Cedric the Entertainer's Comedy Central special. It's going to be a three-city tour in those cities I just named, and the film production company that I'm co-founding down in Johannesburg is a part of that. So it's going to be a pretty exhilarating experience, right? Just going through. We'll also be doing some work in Ghana and Gambia. We'll be going to Nigeria, Senegal, Rwanda. It's gonna be pretty dope. I'm stoked about it. My Shri, my brother, since about 2014. He's come back and forth to Kenya to visit me about 3 times now. So this will be his fourth time, but his first time really going to West Africa and staying over for an extended time. My other brother Horace, the Solar, he's the one who really brought this whole genealogy thing, in the forefront, of my mind, and really kind of pull this together as far as that is, searching and doing the whole reverse migration thing. That was an ingenious idea of his. He is he hasn't been over to the continent yet, so I think it'd be really cool to see that those three perspectives. I feel like people will be able to like kind of choose their player, right, and view the experience from somebody who's me. I've been over here for 2 years. I haven't gone back in 2 years. Supreme, who's gone back and forth, and kind of get both perspective, and then Horace, who's completely new and green to it. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. It's called the Route Map. Right, so yeah, the next couple of articles will probably definitely be based from that, and of course I'll sprinkle in some other stuff. But just stay tuned, man. Follow, make sure you go to the Kushim House. Make sure you stay current on the channel, and we got some goodies for you. So for sure.
All right, last one from me, because I know Vibronica's got something big. Your KZSHXM House virtual space is this mind-blowing digital hub. What inspired you to build it, and how do you hope it sparks inspiration for others?
Well, firstly, shout out to Spatial.io, one of the OGs in the games when it comes to metaverse, and I love how they always have progressed over the years. I've been building on there since 2021, I believe. That's when I got my first Oculus, my Meta Oculus Quest 3. It was pretty cool building on there. And I remember they only had half avatars. Like, they didn't even have a full person, right? So, but over the years, they've been able to evolve and grow. They've been able to incorporate a lot of really cool features and utilities, right? I think it's one of the most seamless metaverses that kind of is a balance of, great graphics, great look, great feel, right? And also in presentation and also utility and the things that you can do with it. I personally believe that, platforms like Spatial and once it's, in browser are going to be the future of websites and the future of apps, right? 3D environments, immersive things that you could actually go and buy the product, right? Or you could go interface with the thing online and you can get it delivered to your door, or you can get the digital product downloaded and you can have it right there. I think it's going to change the way that people look at commerce and the way that art is presented and displayed. I think it's going to change the way that people interface and consume content, right? Because spatial is also integrated with, VR, augmented reality. And it's a web browser and it's a mobile app. I think the functionality of it is off the charts, right? I'm also a consultant. I consult people on these things, so I explain it as like a Zoom or Google, interactive Zoom or Google Meets that you could play like a video game, right? Because it has a lot of the same core functions of those platforms, right? You can share your screen, you can moderate audiences, you can actually token gate with NFTs, right? Different rooms, right? So when I first started, my vision was to create like a virtual Disney World, right? Where people could come online and they can jump from their experience to experience, gallery to gallery, education center to education center, right? Entertainment, concert to concert, right? Of all of these digital, virtual experiences happening concurrently, like a virtual festival, a virtual Disney World, where people would have like, it reminds me, I don't know, I don't mean to take it there, but it's like, it reminds me of like The Sims or Grand Theft Auto RP, right? Where you come online and you actually have a job, right? So, um, so yeah, I think that it's very, very, imperative that we are able to introduce uh, these experiences, right, especially to the younger age, right, who have the intention span of like, I need to see things now, right? I need to experience, I need to be able to touch it, I need to be able to move it around, interact with it. I don't want to just read words on a piece of paper. I want to see images, I want to see moving parts. So, by giving people the control of the experience of being able to interact with it, right? That's what, the Kushim House is all about. It's really kind of an atrium, a portal, a gateway. It's kind of my chill place, like my hangout spot. You can kind of you can catch me there. You can get the link. You can just catch me there on a random Tuesday, man. I'm there. That's where I hold my tech consultations at. I hold various screenings, different virtual events, meetings. It's the place to be, man. So definitely check out the Kushim House, and it is a gateway to an entire universe, right? And I, encourage collaboration. I offer for anyone who's a 3D modeler, 3D designer, um, anybody who does virtual experiences, anybody who's a developer to, collaborate with me. Oh yeah, so really actually my goal is to like Spatial, and I love Spatial. They're just an MVP platform, right? Like I am also a Unity developer. I also have some experience in yeah, I'm a Unity developer. I have some experience in Unreal as well. So my goal is to build a standalone platform, right, where you could build these experiences, and they're way more expansive, right? I had a software company a few years back, and we invested about $15,000 in 3D assets and virtual world packs, world builders. It's crazy, rideable dragons that you can fly with. Like it's crazy. So, there's a whole project. There's a means to an end, right? It's a whole project that's being built, and it's all being built on top of that database that I was speaking about earlier, right? So, Kushim House is really just an offering to the community on what a world we could live in, right? And this isn't running away from the natural world, right? This is incorporating nature and technology, right, to have a blended coexisting sustainable reality in the future.
Okay, Vibro, you went hard with that one. I'm closing it out. Kushim, your ultimate goal is to see African innovation lead the world. If we fast forward 10 years, what does that future look like and what role are you playing in making it real?
Whew. Okay. 2025, right? So 10 years from that would be 2035. Wow. I mean, it's kind of tough, right, to really pinpoint where exactly, we'll be, based on a few different factors that, I'm pretty sure we're all aware of. But, honestly, what I like to see is by 2035 that Africa has completely taken control of its natural resources, right? And is able to then redistribute the value and the wealth, gain from that to invest into, of course, into infrastructure and making sure that quality of life is raised exponentially, like so many percent. But then take a very, very vested interest in, tech and creator economy and health and wellness and education, right? So I would like to see data centers in African owned data centers, a network, a grid, a decentralized grid of, data centers across the continent, right? And I want to see Africa truly technically and internally connected. I would like to see that the young people of Africa are being heard and accounted for and uplifted in a way that inspires them and encourages them to tap into unlimited potential of genius, right? And I would like to see that through programs like the Be Kind to Be Fair programs that I mentioned earlier, and exhibited and showcased through festivals like Festech that I also mentioned earlier, right? I would like to see the next wave of African scholars and building on top of what the master teachers have built for us, a foundation that they built for us, over the past 50 to 60 years as we've gained more access to data and information on a scholarly level. I would like to see Africa take control of its tourists and have a very, very, crucial role in how its resources and culture is exploited and monetized and optimized. And those are a few things, right? I would like to see, of course, the per capita GDP go up for countries like Burundi that have like $243 GDP per capita GDP, right? Compared to Luxembourg, which has 140,000, right? The disparity is crazy. So the things that I'm doing to implement that also obviously is, I've mentioned the database. I mentioned Kabaddi, as far as sports. I mentioned festivals and entertainment. I've mentioned, going back and finding my actual roots and genealogy so I know who I am. So at the core of me, no one can shake me from that foundation. Education is always a pillar. So, you'll always kind of hear these same type of themes with me. I'm never going to change from that. So I would just like to see those further, I would like to see the osmosis of those type of dynamics further permeated through the culture, through the diaspora. I would like to see communication through that. So that's me, man. I'm a straight shooter when it comes to that, and my vision is eagle eye like, and I have a lion's ferocity and tenacity when it comes to chasing that, and magnetizing it to me, So I'm my mother's son, you know, and I'm my father's son, and I'm my sister's brothers. So the sky is the basement. I appreciate y'all for having me on, and I look forward to further encounters. I look forward to seeing how you continue this podcast into the future. I'm honored to be the first episode. So, much kudos to y'all, much props to you. And, what's the Vibronics? It's the supersonic phonics, baby. Kushim.
Man, you're making me want to fast forward to 2035 right now.
Ain't that right? That's the vibe that I'm syncing with. We also have to get Horus and Shri on the show as well. Spread the word, subscribers. Let's get them here next.
Yo, VibeSync fam, wasn't that incredible? Kushim, you're out here dropping gems, culture, tech, Kabaddi, the whole package.
Absolutely, you're a true visionary, Kushim. Thank you for bringing all this energy and inspiration to VibeSync sessions. To everyone watching, dive into Kushim's world at KZSHXM.Vercel.app. Follow him on X at KZSHXM and check out his KZSHXM House on spatial.io for a next level experience.
Don't sleep on those NFTs or that Festac festival in Ghana from September 21st through the 27th. Kushim's changing the game and we're here for it.
For sure, keep syncing with us fam. Hit that subscribe button, share this episode, and let's keep the Afrofuturistic vibes flowing. Until next time, stay bold, stay creative, and stay in sync.
And remember kids, the sky is the basement.
Is the basement.
And just like that, we out VibeSync crew.